Everyone, Adam here, So Wizard Podcast. I have a comic review for you today. I got a chance to check out The OZ. I was sent the first 2 issues. I read the first one, wanted to do this recording before I got into the second one. Spoilers, I'm bad at burying the lead. This is something I'm going to see through to the end. It's 3 issues planned, there's 2 out already. Anyway, The OZ was written by David Pepose, P-E-P-O-S-E, I hope I got the pronunciation right, who created Savage Avengers, Spencer and Locke, and Scout's Honor, and it was co-created with Ruben Rojas, R-O-J-A-S. Again, I apologize for pronunciation. I'm horrible at that, and I need to work on it. Anyway, The OZ is kind of a retelling, kind of a sequel of The Wizard of Oz, which I didn't know what it was. I didn't read any synopsis. I didn't look ahead in the book just to check out the artwork. I just dove in and started reading. These people have earned some, faith in their projects just based on what they've already created. So there was no doubt in my mind this would be something interesting. I didn't know how interesting it would be. And honestly, I think if you told me it was kind of a retelling, kind of a sequel to The Wizard of Oz, I would have been like, what? Okay, I might have lost interest being judgmental before I saw what it was, which is wrong. And I'm glad I didn't take that course of action because this is seriously cool. The first page had me hooked, or maybe the first 2 pages. It's kind of an epilogue thing with Dorothy Gale, Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, walking her granddaughter, also named Dorothy, because, themes, through what we're not sure of, some kind of war zone, and you're not even sure who the people are at first. At least I wasn't. And then there's, someone laying in wait, and it's a winged monkey. And the only thing I know winged monkeys from, famously, is The Wizard of Oz. And I said, is it really? Can it be? And then you turn the page and it is, which I thought was so cool. And I liked it so much more than I thought it would. Like I was saying, if you told me this was a retelling / sequel, I might have lost interest. And then when I found out what it was organically, I didn't realize how much I wanted it. It was something I wanted I didn't even know. It is something of a retelling where it has the same elements just in a new way. There is a Dorothy in the Land of Oz. There's all this fantastical stuff going on. There are the same stable of characters from the original book / movie that we all know a little bit about. I mean, The Wizard of Oz is one of those ultra famous things where even if you're not a fan or never read the book or never actually even saw the movie, you know Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You know I'll Get You My Pretty and Your Little Dog Too. You know these staples. You've seen some iteration of this. You have some familiarity. It's almost like a shared consciousness for people, at least in this country. It's such a huge part of pop culture. One thing I really appreciated that they did, and I think every comic needs to do this, and many do, most of the good ones do, you don't have to have any previous knowledge. If you've never even heard of The Wizard of Oz, which I'm not even sure how that would be possible, but if you hadn't, it's all in there for you. You get enough of what was to know what is and what's coming. And it's a new Dorothy being reintroduced. That's the part that's kind of half retelling, but it never feels like a rehash. It's never this, we're going to do a dark, gritty reboot retelling. This isn't DC making a movie for HBO Max. This is an original product. It's done with care, so it's nothing like DC making movies. It's really, really awesome. The artwork is outstanding. The tone and the moods and through the layouts and the pages you get is spectacular. It's exactly what I look for in comic books. None of it is lazy. None of it is skipped over. None of it is just done to get to the next story beat. It's fantastic. The first issue alone, 60 pages, which is a ton of content, and it is divided in chapters, so you get those logical act breaks, that logical place to catch your breath. If you have something to do, you can't read the full 60 pages at once. You have a place where you can put it aside for a bit because you're going to want to come back to it and then come back and finish without killing the momentum of the story, and the story does have an energy to it. I mean, I planned on reading a chapter or 2 when I saw it was done in chapters, and I read the entire thing in one sitting. I mean, it ate up a huge chunk of my day, which I do not regret in the least. It was an amazing read. I'm going to jump into the second one as soon as I'm done recording this, and this is something where I am going to be following the series through the end. I'm not just reading it because we got review copies. The OZ was on Kickstarter a couple times. I don't know if they're going to kickstart again for the 3rd. If they do, I will likely be supporting it. It's also won some Kickstarter awards. This is a very well-received thing. I guess I'm putting the word out there. It doesn't seem like they need my help or anyone else's help. It seems like they're doing just fine on their own, given their credentials, as I mentioned. They should be. But this is something I want to put on your radar, not just to support the creators, but also this is something cool to read. And if you're into comics, you should be reading it. This was written by David Pepose, art and cover by Ruben Rojas, colors by Whitney Koger, and lettering by DC Hopkins. All of it comes together perfectly. There is not a weak link among this. There's nothing in the dialogue I found too much. There's nothing in the internal dialogue I found to be too exposition heavy or lacking in a way. It just puts you in the middle of a story, but it's a logical story. You know what's going on. You're not lost. The way that they deal with the younger Dorothy's Iraq war veteran PTSD and the things she's seen and experienced, and the older Dorothy's fantastical tales that she was telling her granddaughter, the way the two meld is fantastic. It never makes light of the PTSD, and it makes the fantastical parts so much more real. There's even a bit where the younger Dorothy just assumes that the older Dorothy had kind of lost her mind. Oh yeah, Grandma, the Wonderful World of Oz. Okay, yeah, I get it. You went on this adventure. Sure. It's so sad. It reminded me a lot of, I know there was a couple video games, Alice in Journey into Madness, something along those lines. I believe there was maybe a comic about it, and/or a story, I don't know, whatever it is, the Alice in Wonderland story where it's, well, what if there was no Wonderland and Alice was just insane? Or wasn't she, whatever it was kind of thing. There's a bit of that vibe here, not to make it feel like a rehash, just to bring it back to something else you might have already seen. It's really cool. It's a retelling / sequel I didn't know I wanted, and if you told me I wanted it, I probably wouldn't have believed you until I see the real thing in front of me. It's done right. It's done with care. There's a ton of content there, so it can take its time, but it's never slow. I mean, the first chapter, you're in the thick of it. You're waist deep in Oz. You're seeing the status of Oz. It does take a step back from some action in chapter 2 to kind of get you into what exactly is going on, but there's so much interesting stuff going on, and the thought put into it and the realism, I know it might be a ridiculous word to use when we're talking about the land of Oz, the realism that it brings is very cool. I'd love to give you examples, but I don't want to give spoilers because every time they had one of these reveals, I thought it was the most clever thing ever. The way that Dorothy meets up with the older Dorothy's old friends, I thought was incredibly clever. The way they fit into the new world with the new role after their stories seem to have ended, again, insanely clever. I sound like a broken record here, but it was really, really cool. The OZ, which actually stands for the Occupied Zone, which I thought was very, very clever because it kind of reminds me of like a demilitarized zone. Maybe something we would have been talking about in Vietnam or between the two Koreas or something along those lines. Something, again, bringing the fantasy into the real world, and also a way to keep Oz in the title without it being called Oz. Smart writing from beginning to end. I can't stress that enough. And with the art and the colors and the feel and the tone to match, they do this cool thing where younger Dorothy is having some kind of a post-traumatic stress, something in her mind from her past, but it's melding with this fantasy world she assumed wasn't real, and just the subtle touches in the imagery going into less subtle but more in your face in a great way. It just blew my mind. I loved it. You got to read this book. It might be my favorite comic of this year. The first 2 books are available now, with a third on the way. Again, I don't know if they're doing another Kickstarter for it, but at least check out the first book. One that probably looks way better in print than digital, so I am going to be diving into how I can get some print copies. I'll add it to my long boxes after I read it, but it's one to hold on to because it's just that clever that you'll want to be revisiting it, I'd imagine, especially if you're also a creative, even if you're not creating comics, but anything. Sometimes you get in those slumps and you find that TV show or that movie or that song or that piece of art or that comic book that inspires you to want to get back on the horse or to redouble your efforts or just to dive a little deeper into your own creativity. The OZ does it. Huge credit to David Pepose for writing this amazing thing and getting these other talented people on board. I don't know their level of involvement because it does say co-created by Ruben Rojas, who did the art and the cover. Huge credit to everybody involved. I mean, I didn't want to downplay the other people involved in the story because man, it's awesome. And it's 60 pages, 60 full color around there for each of these issues. This becomes a comic saga, and with only 4 people creating it, that is outstanding. I did a little bit of research before recording this video to tell you where to get the OZ, and honestly, I'm not exactly sure, and I hate that because this is something you should be checking out. I will put a link to David Pepose's own website, which links to the Kickstarter. I'll put a link to the Kickstarter. There's a ton of art on there. I mean, you get a big chunk of the book you can check out before you even buy. As far as I know, that might be the only way to get it so far, but it's probably at least a place to keep an eye on so you can see where to get it otherwise. Mr. Pepose's own website does say to order it on Kickstarter, and it links there, but the backing is closed, so apologies to the creator, apologies to you guys, I'm not exactly sure. If I get more information after this recording, I will update the comments. I want to buy link there. I want to make it as easy for you as possible to support this project and to get yourself an awesome piece of entertainment. So huge props again to all the creators, and a big thank you for contacting us. I mean, David reached out himself to contact us to ask for this review, so that is definitely someone who believes in his own project. This was not just a spam email going across to everybody. I wish him the best of luck, but it seems like it's already working out, so awesome. Thank you, and make sure to check out this book. Please remember to like and subscribe. We got a lot more comic reviews, a lot more movie reviews, a lot more interviews, a lot more new movie coverage. Everything awesome coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. Make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. There's all new merchandise out. Mark Ellis worked really hard on. Really cool stuff. I'm really happy to be featured on it. Thank you, Mark Ellis. I will have stuff to show as soon as possible. I've already ordered it. TeePublic is sending it right along, so I will be doing videos showing it off so you can see how cool it is, but you can find it right now on TeePublic, a link on SoWizardPodcast.com. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows. We love hearing feedback, so drop us a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts will be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a good friend and I have our own ongoing comedy comic series out, which will be working on about 10 seconds after I'm done recording this video, because when you read an awesome comic, you want to go and make your comic even better. My comic is called Social Studies. It's a slice of life comedy comic. I make it with one of my lifelong best friends. We have a great time doing it. We write it like a sitcom. We get a lot of great feedback. We have a ton of fun. We style after the 90s cartoons that we grew up on inspired us. You will see a lot of the things that you like in there. Well, the inspiration, we do our best not to copy anything. You can find 9 issues available now at socialstudiescomic.com or on Comixology and Comixology Unlimited, which we're very excited about. We are reaching out to local stores. If you want to see it in your local store, drop us a line and we'll reach out to them. Thanks.